The Office of Louisiana Attorney General Liz Murrill announced the filing of a brief in Louisiana versus Callais earlier today. The U.S. Supreme Court is set to hear arguments on the case on October 15th, and they will decide if Louisiana's latest congressional maps violate the 14th and 15th Amendments. The case could bring national implications as to how states draw their congressional maps in the future. Attorney General Liz Murrill released a statement after the filing, quote, "Our Constitution prohibits the sorting of Americans into voting districts based on their skin color, and Louisiana wants no part of that abhorrent system. Our Constitution sees neither black voters nor white voters. It sees only American voters," end quote. And Louisiana District 6's Congressman Cleo Fields, who represents the congressional district at the center of this legal battle, also released a statement today regarding the redistricting. He says in part, quote, "In a case as important as redistricting, there is no reason why SB 8 should not be defended fully and faithfully. I just have the belief that the Attorney General should be willing to defend the work of the people's representatives," end quote.